Hey guys, what is up? Happy Wednesday. We are back at it today with the Boston Massacre and analyzing the two texts and the artwork that we have been studying. And today we're going to be talking about the central message of those texts, okay? And now I know we've done central message a lot of times before, and a lot of times there's a big misconception with central message, which I'm going to get into in just a minute because I don't want you guys to make that mistake today, okay? But to start off, we have our focus question is what are the perspectives of both sides in George versus George? And our content framing question today is what is the central message of the texts and artwork about the Boston Massacre, okay? And then I have central message written here in orange, nice and big. And next to central message, a lot of people always get central message confused with main idea. Now, main idea is what the text is mostly about because it's, the focus of that piece. And central message gets lumped in with main idea sometimes. But really, central message isn't what the text is mostly about. You will see that somewhere, and people will say that is the case. I tend to disagree, okay? Because you're looking at the second part of it. You're looking at that message part of it. And that's what always reminds me that central message is different from main idea. So the reason that I say that is because it's a message, right? The central message. That's because the author is trying to teach you something, okay? What message is the author trying to get across? So I have, what does the author want you to learn? What is their message to the reader? Okay? Now, the central message is going to focus on today the Boston Massacre, but go a little deeper. What about the Boston Massacre do the authors of these texts and the artist that created that artwork, Paul Revere, want you to know or want you to learn about the Boston Massacre, okay? And I know we talked in the last lesson about, or in a previous lesson I should say, about propaganda. Okay, propaganda is something that is given out or distributed or created in order to influence someone's feelings on a topic or a person. So if there was someone I didn't like and I wanted to say that to you guys and push that knowledge onto you, I could create, posters about that person saying to not like that person. I could find examples of things they've done that I didn't like, that I could say, oh, isn't this so terrible that person did this? And I could turn you against a certain person if I really tried, if I kept saying it over and over and over again, okay? Now, propaganda comes with another word, and this is a new word for us, and that is the word bias, B-I-A-S, bias. And now, bias is when you favor one thing over another, usually in an unfair way, okay? So now, when people talk about having a bias, it usually relates to something that they like over something that they don't like, okay? Now, I have my Malloy College sweatshirt on. If someone who is going into college was to come to me and was like, oh, Mr. Kodiak, I have Malloy in mind, but I have two other schools in mind, automatically I'm going to say, oh, Malloy is great, you should go there, there's all these great things, all these great opportunities, but at the same time, I don't know anything about the other two schools. All I know is Malloy, so I have a biased opinion of Malloy College. If someone was coming to me, I wouldn't be able to really give them a fair comparison between Malloy and somewhere else. And this bias also goes back into what I was saying earlier in these lessons is I'm teaching you guys about the American Revolution. And I've shown you guys the pictures. I've been Stars and Stripes since I was a little kid. It's all I know. I've only lived in America. I'm a big history buff, so everything that I've read throughout history has built my feelings on certain things and towards our country. And so I have leaned towards the colonist side of the argument for most of this unit, okay? I've been saying, yes, what the British are doing unfair. The British caused the colonists to rebel, to fight back. It is the British fault. But that's me being biased because I live in America, I live in New York, I'm from the United States, and I was not ever taught in the British perspective of the American Revolution. So my biased opinion or my biased support automatically goes to the colonists, okay? Now, as we get into this lesson, I want to talk about the artwork and I want to talk about the texts, okay? And this is going to be kind of the parts of this lesson that are going to help you answer the questions and help you guys create your own central message for these 3 texts, okay? So, if we start with the artwork, I know a couple of things about the artwork, and what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to figure out whether the artwork and the text were propaganda or not, okay? So, the first thing I know about the artwork is that it's of the Boston Massacre, okay? I also know that it was created by Paul Revere. And the fact that it was created by Paul Revere might be the most important part about this artwork, because Paul Revere was a rebel colonist. And if you're a rebel, it means you go against things. So if he's a rebel, that means he was against the British, okay? And the artwork shows a slanted view of the Boston Massacre, okay? And what I mean by a slanted view is that there were clearly 2 sides of the art, but all the colonists looked injured or dead. And the reason that they all looked injured or dead was because Paul Revere was trying to say, hey, this is what happened. He was a first-hand source, okay? He was a first-hand account. So when he puts out this artwork, people are going to believe that that's what he saw, because they're like, hey, Revere was down there. Revere saw what happened, so whatever he puts in that artwork is what I'm going to believe. And what he did was he made it look so bad with all those dead and injured colonists and all the British firing their guns at the colonists that it automatically made people very biased, okay? And this piece of artwork was indeed propaganda / biased, okay? For the Americans. Now, the texts are a little bit different, okay? And we know that the texts show colonist perspective, but they also show British perspective. So when you show both sides, showing both sides is very important. We've talked about this all along. That, you know, if you know two people having an argument, you want to hear the one person's side and you want to hear the other person's side. And that lets you give a fair judgment of what the situation is. Okay? And there's a word that we use that describes when you're looking at both sides and you're not really leaning one way or the other, you're seeing it straight down the middle. And that is neutral. Okay? And neutral is a super important word. It means that you don't take sides and you see things fairly and equally, okay? Because when you're neutral, you're not saying that one person is right or one person is wrong. You're hearing both sides of the story before you make your judgment. And also, you can just be neutral by not picking a side. Like, if friends are trying to have you do this, or and other friends are trying to have you do something else, you can just say, hey, I'm not gonna do either one. I'm gonna stay right here, right where I'm at, and I'm not gonna tell you which one I'd rather do, okay? And that's why if you guys come back and you guys have a conflict with another teacher, I always talk to the other teacher first, and then I talk to you guys. And so that I can try to see what the middle ground of the situation is, and I try to stay as neutral as possible. I don't back you guys right away. I don't back the other teacher right away. I try to figure out the middle ground as a neutral person, okay? And it's important to be neutral because when you're neutral, you are also unbiased, okay? And when you are unbiased, you can give both sides of an argument. So that's why I remain unbiased, so I can give your side of the argument, I can give the teacher's side of the argument if you're the one that's in trouble. Or in this case, when we're learning about the American Revolution, if you're unbiased, you can give the American or the colonist point of view, and you can give the British point of view. And that's super important because that's what we're going to be doing in our painted essay. But that's for tomorrow. Today we're done. Your classwork is going to be to answer some questions about all three texts, and then you're going to have to answer a question about central message. What is the central message? And explain why you think that is the central message for homework, okay? What day is today? Today is Wednesday. So I did see some of you guys this morning. It was great to see you guys, and I will try to get another Google meeting going sometime this week, and I'll do it later in the day so I can see my afternoon people. And until tomorrow, see ya.